Hi guys! Today we are factoring quadratic trinomials where a is not 1. So one more time, what the heck is a quadratic trinomial? Quadratic means there's an x squared in there. Trinomial means there are 3 terms. Remember, a, b, and c are the coefficients on x squared, x, and that number at the end. So a, b, and c, since they're coefficients, they are just plain old numbers. Don't put the x's and x squareds with them. Okay, and just as a reminder, the order of your parentheses does not matter. All right, so we are doing the exact same process that we did yesterday, only this time it's going to be a slight bit more complicated. You might have noticed a pattern in the last one that might not quite happen here. But our process that we're going to go through is exactly the same, so don't be afraid. Remember, our first thing we need to do is multiply a times c. So in this first one, that is 5 times 4. And that's 20. My b value is that number in the middle right there on my x, and that's negative 12. Let's multiply a times c and find b on each one. A times c, so 4 times negative 6. That's going to give me negative 24. And then my b value is that guy on my x, negative 5. On this next one, we need to multiply a times c. So 2 times negative 21 is negative 42. And then my b value is that guy in the middle. That's 11. Multiply a times c. So, 6 times 4. That's 24. My b value is that number in the middle, so that's 11. All right. Oopsies. Now we want to be able to find two numbers that multiply to a times b and add to b. Multiplies to a times c and adds to b. Multiplies to a times c and adds to b. Okay, so here we go. I need to look at my factors of 20, and I need them to add to a negative number so I know when they both need to be negative. So I'll have negative 1 and negative 20, negative 2 and negative 10, negative 4 and negative 5. Things that multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 5. So if it's multiplying to a negative number, I need a negative and a positive of each of those guys. So negative 21, positive 24, positive 1, negative 24, negative 2, positive 12, 2 times negative 12, negative 3 times 8, positive 3 times negative 8, negative 4 times 6, positive 4 times negative 6. What multiplies to be negative 42? So we'll have negative 1 and positive 42, positive 1 and negative 42, negative 2 and positive 21, positive 2 and negative 21, negative 3 and I know 3 goes into it. 3 goes into 4 once, 4 left, so that's 14. 3 times negative 14. 6 goes in. Negative 6 times 7. 7 times negative 6. There we go. All right. And then this last one, things that multiply to positive 24. And they need to add to a positive, so that means they're both positive. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4, and 6. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, we want to find two of these numbers that multiply to a times c that add to b. So we're going to add our guys in our left term, or in our left column, in the right column. So -1 plus -20 is -21. -2 plus -10 is -12. -4 times -5 is -9. -1 plus 24 is 23. 1 plus -24 is -23. -2 plus 12 is 10. 2 plus -12 is -10. -3 plus 8 is 5. 3 plus -8 is -5. -4 plus 6 is 2. Yes, 2. And 4 plus -6 is -2. All right. Whew, okay, 41. -41. 19. -19. 11. -11. 1. -1. Then over here we've got 25, 14, 11, and 10. So now for each one, we're going to figure out which pairs multiply to a times c and add to b. So which ones of these multiplied to 20 and added to -12? That was -2 and -10. So we're going to split our middle term into those two numbers, -2 and -10. So the 5x squared stays there. And then we have -2x and -10x. And then plus 4. We're going to do that step on the rest of our problems now. So now in the next one, which of those multiply to -24 and add to -5? That was +3 and -8. So we're going to split that middle term, 4x squared. I'm going to split -5x into +3x and -8x. And everything around it stays the same. We need our factors of -42 that add to 11. That was -3 and +14. So we'll split our 11x into -3x. Oopsies, that's weird looking 3. -3x and +14x. And then that -21 stays on the back, and the 2x squared stays up front. Over here, which factors of 24 added to 11? That was 3 and 8. So I'll have to split 11x into 3x and 8x. And the 6x squared and the 4 stay on each side. All right, so splitting the middle term works for every trinomial that you want to factor if it's factorable. So everything that we learned last time, we're going to keep on doing right now. So remember, the first thing that we do is we look for our GCF of our first two terms. So what's my greatest common factor of 5x squared and 2x? Well, number-wise, they don't have anything in common other than 1. But variable-wise, they both have an x to give. So I'm going to factor out an x. And when I factor that x out, I'm left with 5x minus 2. Now I'm going to look for my greatest common factor of -10x and 4. My greatest common factor there is 2. But when I factor out that 2, I want to end up with this set of parentheses, 5x minus 2. So what do I have to factor out of -10x and +4 to get +5x and -2? I need to divide out a -2. So that way when I take -10x divided by -2, I end up with +5x. When I factor out that -2 out of +4, I end up with -2. Now let's do this step on the rest of them. My greatest common factor of 4x squared and 3x is x. So I'll factor that out and get 4x plus 3. My greatest common factor of negative 8x and negative 6 is 2. But I want to factor something out so that way I end up with positive 4x and positive 3. So I'll have to factor out a negative 2. So that way when I take negative 8x divided by negative 2, I end up with positive 4x. And negative 6 divided by negative 2 leaves me with positive 3. Okay. We're going to look for our greatest common factor of 2x squared and 3x. Our greatest common factor there is x. So when we factor that out, I'm left with 2x minus 3. My greatest common factor of 14x and negative 21 is 7. So when I factor that out, 14x divided by 7 is 2x minus 21 divided by 7 is 3. All right. My greatest common factor of 6x squared and 3x is 3x. So when I take x squared divided by 3x, 6 divided by 3 is 2. I had 2 x's but took one of them out. Plus 3x divided by 3x is 1. Our greatest common factor of 8x and 4 is 4. So I have plus 4. 8x divided by 4 is 2x. And then 4 divided by 4 is 1. Good deal. Now let's do our last step. So we're going to take out what this term and this term have in common. What do this guy and this guy have in common? They have that 5x minus 2 in common. Once I factor that 5x minus 2 out, I'm just left with x minus 2. So that will be my other set of parentheses. Over here, we'll take out what they have in common. 4x plus 3. And after I factor that out, I'm left with just this stuff in between, x minus 2. There we go. Going to take out what they have in common, 2x minus 3. And then my other set of parentheses is what is left over, x plus 7. I'm going to take out what they have in common, 2x plus 1. And my other set of parentheses is just that stuff left over, 3x plus 4. All right, see you next time. We'll factor a little bit more. See you later.